Don't sleep on the AL Central, and we will tell you why. Like it, subscribe, do what you need to do here to follow us on Rally Cap, and tell us what is the biggest surprise you expect out of the AL Central in 2026. Parker, people just like to shit on the AL Central, but there's you look under the hood here. There's some interesting things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the AL Central has gotten its bad rap over the last couple years, and I mean, I think at this point it's just one of those things like a fun punching bag. It's the easy kid to bully kind of thing. But I mean, as you say, when you look at some of the best excitement coming out of anything in Major League Baseball going into the playoffs last season, the postseason itself, some of the most exciting stuff, even a lot of the offseason storylines between like Tarek Skubal's arbitration and Justin Verlander and stuff like that. Like there's a bunch of stuff to talk about in the AL Central moving into the 2026 season. I think you and I both are going to think we're surprising a lot of people with our predictions.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think this division, as much as it is certainly nowhere near the strongest. You can make the argument certainly it's the weakest in MLB. I do think the standings are pretty cut and dry, but we'll go over all of that in a little bit here after we talk about each team. But I do, before we even talk about all these teams, kind of set the scene of where we were at in 2025. So if you recall, the Guardians did win the AL Central last season, but they won it, Parker, with 88 wins, so nothing to really write home about. We'll talk about that. Followed by the Tigers, who were one game back with 87 wins. The Royals, not too far behind, 6 games back at 82. And then, of course, in the cellar, we had the Twins with 70. The White Sox in rebuild mode, still hovering with 60 wins and 28 games out. So let's start with, I think, the very top of this list, the Guardians and the Tigers, which looks like it's going to be a Guardians-Tigers battle in the AL Central again this year. Was Cleveland's year in 2025, like, was it the peak, or was it just a setup year for this ultimate Tigers-Guardians showdown? I mean, how do you place it?
So I don't know if I don't know if an offseason could have set me up to be more down on the Guardians than this offseason currently did. Like this offseason completely changed my opinion of the Guardians. I thought that what we were going to see was going to be a team that was surprisingly competitive last year, that was very, very kind of upstart, and they always are. They always have been in the last at least like the 5-6 years. Kind of the Jose Ramirez era. Maybe so longer than that, but they've always been this team that's like, you can never really count them out. You can never really count them completely out. They're always going to be pesky. They're at least going to play spoiler, things like that. And then we saw what happened this past year with the surge late in the season and the collapse of the Tigers and then the playoff series that ends up going the way of the Tigers. And it's like, clearly Cleveland's only a couple pieces away. Well, if they were only a couple pieces away, they certainly didn't act like it this offseason, because the biggest free agent signing that we saw out of Cleveland this offseason may have just happened like 48 hours ago in the signing of Rhys Hoskins.
And not even roster invite.
He's a non-roster invite. And so like, I don't even think that I'm being facetious by saying that. I think that this team dramatically underperformed in the offseason and did not shore up any of their weaknesses. And like, to call them anything other than the worst offense in baseball is so much charity, because they were terrible last season. Anytime they played against a lefty, it was an unplayable roster because they had so many lefties on this team. And yes, okay, Rhys Hoskins, that's right-handed. Okay, cool, he's a veteran. Okay, cool, he might hit 15 to 20 home runs. Like, we don't know where he's at in his career. But like, aside from the leadership he brings to the clubhouse, assuming he makes the roster, they did nothing. They did nothing this offseason. So I don't think that the lightning in a bottle we saw in the second half of the season is something I can count on for the whole season.
So there's a lot there. Let's unpack some of that. First off, you talk about the offense being pretty horrid. 29th in the league in average, 29th in OBP, 29th in OPS, and 28th, in runs. So definitely holds true. I think the only team worse than them was probably the Rockies, if I had to bet. Now,
just the worst team in baseball history. That's it.
To be fair, my White Sox still hold the modern record for that. Please don't.
He's like, look,
If
there's
I'm
only
gonna
so many
suck,
trophies in our case, dude.
I know exactly. If I'm gonna suck historically, I'm gonna own that. I want to be the best at sucking. Thank you very much. Anyway, but the Guardians here, you made a good point a little bit ago, and that was that they fell apart at the
Hmm.
end of that season, and despite, or excuse me, the Tigers fell apart, and
Yep.
the Cleveland Guardians
Well,
were
the
able to catch
Guardians
them.
kind of did too in the playoffs. Like the
They
falling
did.
apart happened.
Now, I guess here's what I mean though by that is that despite the fact that the Tigers kind of fell off and the Guardians were able to catch up and make some ground, despite doing that, they still only won 88 games. Despite doing
Hmm.
that, they were still only a game ahead of the Tigers. So every time I think of the Guardians, I don't think of them as being competitive because they have all the right pieces and they figured it out. This is absolutely a team that continues to be relevant purely because of their pitching. That is it.
Hmm.
Like, that's it. Like, if you look at the ERA for their starting pitchers 10th in baseball, their ERA in 2025 for their relief pitching, third in ERA, fifth in WHIP, all of the relief pitchers, 18th in WHIP for starting pitchers, 14 hits per nine, 14th for starting pitchers. So I, I just, my question ultimately becomes when you look at a Tigers team that got, I would argue, much better.
Yeah.
Do they have enough middle of the order? Like, is the Kyle Manzardo, Reese Hawkins, Jose Ramirez trio enough to finally support this strong Cleveland pitching that always seems to be there?
Well, so the thing is, like on paper, I think that the roster looks better than I think it's gonna play because I'm not counting on too much out of a Kyle Manzardo this season, especially, trading off time at first base and DH with Reese Hoskins probably is going to be beneficial for him. Okay, cool. Jose Ramirez, he's going to probably continue to be one of the best players of his generation. It's absolutely this is maybe one of the most MVP, unlucky MVP candidates of all time. Like every time he has an incredible season, somebody else has an incredibler one. Um, and so, Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, Manzardo, maybe some Hoskins, Bo Naylor, that type of stuff. Like it's cool, it's nice, um, but only two of these players are projected to have over 3 WAR this season, and it's Joe Ram and Stephen Kwan, and Stephen Kwan's defense is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. Um, so I don't know. I just don't know, especially when you're going to play 15 games against the Detroit Tigers rotation that has a Scooble, Valdez, Flaherty, Verlander, and Mize. They're going to play 15 of those. They're going to play again.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes me not like we haven't done our rankings yet, but the only thing keeping the Guardians as high in my divisional rankings as they are is the fact that every other team in the AL Central besides the Tigers, I'm really, if I just don't think that they're going to win more than 83 games like any of those other teams. So
I mean, you kind of
yeah,
said the issue out loud, right? Like you just said, well, I'm not expecting much out of Kyle Manzardo.
yeah,
Who's the next person up though, other than J Ram? That is the next guy. There's no, if you're not expecting out of Manzardo, who the hell are you expecting it out of? Because
yeah. Chase
that's it.
Alar, like it's not. There's
I
nobody.
mean,
Austin
you're,
Hedges, I guess. Like there's nothing
Austin
there.
Hedges, power hitting Austin Hedges.
Damn
Yes,
right.
that's right. But that I guess really sums up what we're trying to say here is there's this model that they have, which is a great way to set up the foundation of any ball club is run prevention, of course. However, they have not supplemented that run prevention strategy enough, really, to, I think, repeat in this division, certainly not to go into a playoff race. I think they got a little lucky last year. Not going
Hmm.
to lie, as you said, they faltered in the playoffs, which I think you and I knew was going to happen in that first round. So I, that brings me to think about what the Tigers are doing because this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? Like the
No.
Tigers, when you say they're facing them 12 to 15 times, Parker, and you stack these two teams up together, it's quickly becoming no contest because of what the Tigers had did with their rotation. They now can handily compete with a Guardians rotation.
Yeah, everything to do with throwing a baseball for the Detroit Tigers is horrifying if I'm anybody else in the division. Tarek Skubal, Framber Valdez, Jack Flaherty, Justin Verlander, Casey Mize. I already said it. I'll say it again. I won't say it again. But that's their starting rotation. When you look at their bullpen, oh, by the way, they signed a closer. Maybe you've heard of him. First ballot Hall of Famer Kenley Jansen is now the closer. We've got
Yeah.
Will Vest. There's this bullpen looks like, look at the bullpen ERAs and tell me that's not going to project pretty well over 162. Not to
Oh
mention,
yeah.
are you going to get a little bit of Jackson Jobe towards the end of the season? It's not out of the question. He had Tommy John in June last season. So there's kind of reinforcements waiting in the wings. And then when you look at a lineup that, Cole Keith, Gleyber Torres, we know what they can do. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson has kind of become the player, not the player we thought he was going to be. He's not the number one overall pick guy that we wanted him to become,
Sure.
but he's definitely a serviceable big league baseball player. And he's good in clutch situations, which you're going to find yourself in when you find yourself going deep into the postseason. So, looking at the lineup, interestingly enough, it's very top heavy. The best
Mhm.
hitters in this lineup are all projected for like a 113 OPS or WRC plus or better. And then everybody else is like just below or floating around league average projected hitter. Basically, everybody after the fifth spot. So while the lineup is not the most fear-inspiring, this team actually, I mean, maybe I can go ahead and make the comparison even though it hasn't happened yet. It reminds me a lot of what the Red Sox are going to attempt to do this season with a very good starting rotation and not a middling, but like a death by 1,000 cuts kind of offense, which is what this team kind of profiles to be. And when you can do that with the two-time defending Cy Young winner at the top of your rotation,
Mm.
that looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think of all the lineups in the AL Central, this is the lineup that I really like the upside, and
Yeah.
it's because I look at that middle three. Like I think it would surprise people to know if you forgot that last season. I know home runs aren't everything, but you look at this pop. I mean, Carpenter hit
Mm-hmm.
26, Riley Green hit 36, guys, and then
Yep.
Spencer Torkelson you mentioned. I mean,
In the
31.
Grand
It's not
Canyon, by the way. They are
in the
doing this in
yes.
Comerica.
Yes, it's Coors Field East for all intents
Yeah.
and purposes, minus the elevation. I mean, so you're right, Parker, and I think you talk about, Kyle Torkelson not being the 1-1 guy, and, honestly, if you're giving me 30 home runs, batting 258, 265 every year, fine. Give me that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's okay.
113 WRC plus, I got no ground to stand on criticizing Torkelson. Like, I mean,
Sure.
if 113 WRC plus is a good five hitter. There you go. So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
doing what he can. One thing I will say, like you mentioned the upside. I like that you use that word upside because there are some guys in this roster and in this lineup specifically towards the bottom that may have more to give than their WRC plus may give light to, because when you talk about
Mm.
Dylan Dingler being a guy that hovers around 97 WRC plus, he's projected for 97 WRC plus this year. As a catcher, that's like a 120 WRC plus for any other player. Like if
Right.
you can count on a 97 out of your catcher with the defense that Dingler plays, I love it. And then Parker Meadows, like when you talk about a guy who, you can create so much havoc when you have speed, and you can be such a dangerous player when you put the ball in play and you have speed like that. I love Parker Meadows. Maybe I'm a little biased because of his name. But then also look at their bench. And when you have somebody like Javier Baez, who literally could go have one of the best months in the like if they gave MVPs for the best month, Javier Baez could
Yeah.
go win it any single season that he's ever played, because he just will go on a tear for 30 games and we'll be like, what the hell happened to Javier Baez? He's hit 400. So yeah, no, I mean, I really like the lineup. There's a lot of upside there. And then the pitching is just, I mean, what are you going to do?
Right. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to for the Tigers, the pitching and staying healthy. I think is going to be huge. One thing I was surprised when I dug into Fangraphs a little bit, Parker, was last year. You look at games started for this rotation: Skubal 31, Framber 31, Flaherty 31, Verlander 39 games or 29 games started last
Yeah,
year, and then
Verlander
Mize
really posted last
28.
season for the Giants. Yeah.
He posted all these guys 28 starts and above. If they can do that again this year, I'm feeling very good about this rotation. And I think You add that with, I think, one other thing that needs to happen, and they're winning this division, and that is that bottom third of the lineup that you talked about, the Dinglers, McKinstries, Meadows. You said they're all sub 100. They're not far off from being
No,
100 WRC
there.
plus league average. If all of those guys get 100 or slightly above 100, they're winning this division. They are.
Yeah. Yeah, Dingler was a rookie last season, man.
There you go.
Or at least he's got 1 year of service time, I'll say. How about that? Maybe I'm wrong, but he could very well overperform. I'm really high on Dylan Dingler. I think he's a good young catcher.
It's
And
also
I
he's also
love
like got a great baseball name. Let's just make that clear.
yeah, are you kidding me? Perfect. Especially for a catcher. Amazing.
Good God,
Um
yeah.
so yeah, no, I like I mean, I think everybody likes the Tigers. I love the Tigers in terms of like what they're poised to do. I'm scared as hell of the Tigers in terms of meeting them in the postseason. So
Absolutely. Parker, I want to move on to the team that if we could pick a team that's hovering in the middle, it is really these Kansas City Royals. I mean, this is a team that we know is driven by their star talent, the Bobby Witt Juniors of the world. Vinny Pasquantino's coming into his own as a face of the franchise there. And of course, can't forget Salvador Perez, which is, I think he's going to be playing for the Royals until he's 75. But uh, when it comes to the Royals, Parker, what do you make of what they've built there so far? How do you see them doing this year in a division where they really could feasibly win the division? This is the AL Central we're talking about.
yeah, um, I like the Royals. I really do. I got a couple really good Royals friends. Bobby Wood Jr.'s, it's him and PCA are 1A and 1B, my two favorite players in baseball on any given
Yeah.
day that don't wear a Red Sox uniform. I love Vinny P. Who doesn't love Salvi? Jack Hag is maybe my favorite young player in baseball, like developmentally, besides Roman Anthony. And who doesn't love some Jonathan India? And I say all of that to say I want really badly to believe in this team. Like, I really, really want to believe in this team. I want to be like, no, they're going to contend for the division. And look, I'm not saying that's impossible because they could. They have a rotation that looks like Cole Reagans, Michael Waka, Chris Bubich, Seth Lugo, and then there's some Noah Cameron there at the end. Every single one of those guys could go out there and have a really good season. I mean, I just love like the second half of the career renaissance we've seen from Michael Waka. Their bullpen looks good. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot good going on.
Yeah.
But if you do not get absolute breakout seasons from both Jack Caglione and Michael Massey, we
Mm.
may not see this team ever get above third place in this division this season. Because those guys really, really need to break out this season, I think, for them to be successful.
Yeah, I think the silver lining here with these Royals is when you look at it just in the recent history of this Royals franchise, this is by far the best lineup of hitters that they've had since those 2014, 2015 World Series years. And that's saying a lot because there's been some rough going for Royals fans here in the last, 10 years or so. But the upside, again, I'm going to use that word again because that is
Mm-hmm.
very true with this Royals team. I really like Michael Garcia, leading off. I think he's someone who
Mm-hmm.
great bat to ball. If he's projecting at a 3.7 WAR right now in Fangraphs, absolutely sign me up for
Yep.
that. But what I will say is, you talk about guys that need to step up, and it's not even just the breakout guys that need to step up like a Jack Hag or a Massey, but I I need Jonathan India to do
I
Jonathan
need
India
John.
things. That's why
I was gonna say, yep.
like, it's necessary. I loved the trade when they made it. I've always been a Jonathan India fan, but he has not looked like himself the last season and a half, and I think for this lineup to go, he needs to work himself to a position where he could be a number 1, 2 hitter in this
Yeah.
lineup where they played him a lot last year, and it did not work out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Jonathan India's got to be a guy. If you get a 110 OPS plus, WRC plus, whatever you want to say out of him, like That's absolutely massive in a return to form for him. If this infield becomes the heart and soul of this ball club, watch out. Bobby Witt's already that guy. Michael Garcia looks like he's going to be close to being that guy. If Jonathan India can really join in, and then maybe we get a little bit of, I don't know what Jack Caglione is playing these days. Like Vinny P is going to be Vinny P. Jack Cag was kind of a first baseman. Now looks like a right fielder, but he's a DH. Whatever combination that looks like, if we can play through the infield here in Kansas City, this team is very dangerous. Right now, I would like to point out, when you stack up raw, just like who's projected to be above 100 WRC plus, the lineup might look a little better than that Tigers lineup that we just spent a few minutes talking about how good it was. Like, there's a
Oh,
bunch of guys on this team that are projected. There's 6 projected for over 100 WRC plus, 2 guys at 99, and then we got Kyle Isbell at 83.
all right.
Like,
So let me stop you
that's
right there
pretty
because
good.
it is pretty good. And I'm gonna ask you another question to expand on that. So I right before you said that in my brain, I was like, wow, I actually like this lineup better than the Guardians lineup, which I think is the easier jump. So
Yeah, for sure.
if you had to rank these lineups based on what you know right now, who has the better upside on offense? Guardians, Tigers, Royals.
I think the upside is the Royals. I think
Okay.
like I think Jack Caglione by himself makes this lineup the highest upside. I think. Um,
Yeah.
because if he does realize a bunch of the potential that we saw, like, I don't know how much attention you paid to his senior season in Florida. But he was an absolute unit, man. Like he hit balls I have never seen hit so far as as the ones that he was hitting. Like
Yeah.
Jack Caglione is one of the premier power prospects that we have seen come up through this game. Like, I don't know, since Freddie Freeman, like genuinely, he is
It
that good.
it was after that senior season before he was drafted that I think people were, for the first time in a long time, telling folks this is a 40, 45 homer guy out of the draft, is what they were
Oh,
saying.
for sure. Like
And,
it was like, why
and
is he spending any time in the minors? Like that's how good he
correct.
was.
And I think that's still in the cards, right? Like he is
Hmm.
still so young. And I think the power's there. And if he could just make better swing decisions and control the zone, we're looking at 40, 45 easy. Easy.
Yeah, 100%. We were in Surprise, Arizona last year, man. During a couple of this guy's spring training at bats, and he made contact on a foul ball that hooked right to the right of the foul pole that
Yeah.
almost killed somebody in like the 8th row.
Yeah.
It snuck right over that net, and I swear to God, it sounded like somebody got shot. Um, it's quite impressive. He's huge. He's a big man, and I think him and Michael Massey. I actually remember sending a picture to a buddy of mine who's a huge Kansas City Royals fan. Sent a picture to him of Cag and Massey in the dugout standing next to each other. I was like, "This is the future of your franchise, man." And he was like, "I hope they're good. I really hope they're good." So, no, I love the Royals. I want them to be good so
Yeah.
badly, and if I could, I would pick them to win the division. I just need to see it for one more season. They could literally go out and win the division this year, and I'll just pick them next year, just out of courtesy.
That is so true. That's a perfect way to say that is I want to see more of it. I believe in them. I think what they're putting together is great. I think they finally know how to actually build an infrastructure and they're putting investments into this team, which is awesome. Um, but there's some growing up to do maybe still for this
For
team.
sure. For sure.
That's a great way to put it. So let's talk about the last two teams here, the bottom dwellers, if you will, the AL Central. And I don't want anyone to start hating on the Twins and the White Sox because again, two teams that there's a lot of intrigue here. I would say I have more questions for one than the other, but I'll leave my White Sox for last. I want to start with the Twins. Parker, if I'm comparing these two last teams, objectively, I have more questions about the Twins than I have the White Sox. I, I don't know what the hell the Twins are doing. I'm concerned if I'm a Twins fan. What do you make of the situation?
I'll tell you right now, I'll spoil my picks. I got Chicago finishing above Minnesota this upcoming season.
Oh man.
Because there are so many questions for the Minnesota Twins. Not really questions for the lineup because we can see, look at the lineup. they're not attempting to win a ton of baseball games this upcoming season, I don't think. I think we're going
Yeah.
to see a lot of aggression from a lot of guys. You simply cannot count on Royce Lewis producing, where we finally got the full season of Byron Buxton we were looking for. Don't know if we're ever going to get another one of those again. First base, your three hitters, Josh Bell, which like it feels like he's 65 years old. Somehow he's only 33, but like he's
Wow.
one of those guys like Salvi who's like feels like they're 100, but it somehow isn't. I don't know, man. Like it just not a ton to be totally excited about. I don't think Joe Ryan makes it past the trade deadline. I'll be
No.
honestly, there's a world where he doesn't make it out of camp in a Twins uniform. There's just so little to look for. Like we talked about so much upside over the last few teams that we've talked about. There's almost no upside. Every single performer in this lineup is a known quantity. Everyone else doesn't have an upside.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on that one. I mean, we know that there's been a transition with the sale of this team. A lot of talk about that recently, what that means for the franchise going forward. And I think this has all led me to believe that this is more of a, for this team, more of a reset year versus a true bounce back type of season for them. And the proof's in the pudding. I'll even add one other thing that I even forgot about. Pablo Lopez is out
Tommy John.
because of Tommy John. Like, I mean, so that rotation they're gonna use 15 freaking guys in that rotation. And next year
Yep.
we're gonna forget half of them. You know, like this is how this is gonna work for the Twins. I think you're right. I think there's a lot to be desired in the offense. I don't know that any of these guys are gonna be guys that the Twins are penciling in for the long term, which is why I believe this year is one of those let's see what we got years. Like let's see
Mm-hmm.
who rises to the top out of this lineup, maybe out of our pitching staff, and let's see which guys are gonna stick. Because after this year, I think we're gonna see kind of what the blueprint and the plan is for the Twins going forward.
Yeah, I think the blueprint should be like kind of sell everything. The like
The blueprint is rip up the blueprint.
I think so, man. You really need a full rebuild. There's just so little to build on here. Um,
Yeah.
again, like Royce Lewis is maybe the biggest like piece, but
Hmm.
he cannot stay healthy. And when he's healthy, man, he's a good ball player. But
Yeah.
he hasn't stayed healthy. Uh Buxton's too like I was giving Josh Bell crap for being old. Buxton's less than a year old. I guess he's a year younger. So
Yeah.
like and he's a center fielder. So like 32, man, are you
Yeah.
still a center fielder? Mike
I
Trout's
know.
not, but like it's very strange. I don't have a ton to be excited about. When you look at the lineup, I mean, it's crazy. Look at the projected WRC plus numbers on roster resource real quick and look at all the 100s that are projected. I just don't believe almost any of them.
I don't either. I think this is going to be a team that if we're picking teams that will underperform, I'm betting on the Twins for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to be desired here. One thing about this Twins lineup last year is, especially in a division where all these lineups got better, arguably not the Guardians, but the ones other teams, the lineups did get better. But this team last year, they can hit home runs, 11th in home
Mm-hmm.
runs in baseball. They do not hit for average. They do not get on base. You do not win games that way. You combine that with a rotation that has so much uncertainty, the pieces aren't going to fit for this team. They just won't.
Yeah, no. You know what it is? Maybe that here's the deal. I'm gonna project, and like I said, I'm gonna project the White Sox to finish above the Twins. There's a world where the Twins comfortably finish in fourth place. Like they could finish 5
Yeah,
games
yeah,
ahead of the White Sox. But I will
sure.
tell you right now, and I'm sure you agree with me, it is going to be a significantly better product to watch on the field, at least more intriguing from a viewership perspective to tune into a Chicago White Sox game this upcoming season than it will be for the Twins. Because Twins fans know they're not going to be good. And they also know they're
Yeah,
not playing for anybody's development. They're just hoping for maybe a good Royce Lewis season. Whereas your White Sox, and we haven't transitioned over to your team yet, there are a bunch of names that I am so excited to see play full seasons of baseball this upcoming year. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at on the Twins. I just don't like, what is this season for? You're never going to Google this season again. You're never going to say, oh, let me look back on that 2026 Twins season. No, you're going to want to flush it down the toilet.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you what. The White Sox are a team that is done flushing seasons down the toilet. And it's a great little
Yeah.
segue into talking about what this team is. And you know what? This is fitting. Right now, I'm consuming the MVP of candies, Sour Patch Kids. Uh, Rally Cap, not brought to you by Sour Patch Kids, but we like to be. Fun fact.
Yes.
Um,
Hit us up.
hit us up, Sour Patch Kids. But the White Sox, Parker, are a little like Sour Patch Kids. Like on the outside, look at this team and it looks a little sour, but I promise you there's so much sweetness in there because this team, Parker, you
There's
kind of
no way.
alluded to it. Screw you, man. The analogy hit and I'm committing
It's
to
good.
it.
It's a good
Anyway,
one. It's a good one.
so here's what I'll say. This is my moment to shine. Here I go. So the White Sox, Parker, you kind of alluded to it, which I appreciated, is that you look at the history of rebuilding teams in the last 10 years. You know, the Astros went through a rebuild, our own, we're talking about the Pirates and the Royals, even the Cubs. And they supplemented veteran players with a few good kind of blue chip prospects that came up to the majors at the same time. What I like about what the White Sox have done is they have committed to getting top tier young players and having them all come up at the same time, because this whole lineup and rotation is made up of young, high upside guys, almost all
Entire
of them.
thing. Yeah.
And you look at guys you're alluding to, like Colson Montgomery, Kyle Teal, Edgar Caro, Chase Mydroth, who just reminds me of like a Dustin Pedroia, man. I just love the guy. And so I
I
knew
love
that'd
Chase
make
Mydroth.
you smile. Yeah. But you look at this team, for them to have the young core that they do, that have not only, this isn't a year, Parker, in 26 where this team is coming up and they're throwing these young guys out there and they're asking them to just, hey, see what you can do, show me what you got. They showed us the end
Yeah.
of last year, the second half. The White Sox were one of the more fun teams to watch in baseball because they played a really quality brand of the sport. And then you add in, Parker, Munetaka Murakami, which was such a surprise signing for this team. And I've been watching him in spring training. Dude, this guy smashes, man. I am
He's
so fucking
a
excited.
unit. Dude, wait until the WBC. Because last
Oh,
year he
man.
was almost like he was hitting nukes in the WBC 3
Yes.
years ago. And that was like his performance then, like, stuck with me so much. I drafted him in our fantasy league last year to sit on the
Yeah.
bench for a year so that this year I could play him. I love Munetaka Murakami. I love Colson Montgomery. You know where I stand on Kyle Teal and Chase Mydroth. Those are guys that, like, I was so excited to see come up and play big league ball for the Red Sox. I understand. I'll take Garrett Crochet. It is what it is. I mean, I love me some Benintendi. Hopefully we can get a bit like a league average offensive season from him in like 140 games played. I would love to see that. Miguel Vargas, sneaky, one of my favorite role player kind of guys in baseball. Just such a good locker room guy, such a good clubhouse guy, such a good, like, he's probably gonna hit fifth in this lineup, and he belongs there. He's gonna lock down third base with decent defense. And Austin Hayes, what a good addition. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. A lot of these guys, Edgar Caro, like, is there a worse person to have existed in this world than Kyle Teal for Edgar Caro? Like, Edgar Caro would be the number one catching prospect on 29 other teams, but because of Kyle Teal, now he's the number two guy. What a great situation to find yourself in if you are the White Sox. I mean, look at even the bench, man. Corey Lee, Luis Angel Acuna, guys, I'm really excited to see play some baseball today, this season. And then the rotation. Now, the rotation's going to be the most growing painy part of this season, I think.
Yes.
But there's so much to be excited about, because Shane Smith getting a bunch of innings, Sean Burke getting a bunch of innings, and I know you're high on Eric Fetty. I'm not. I've never been as high on Eric Fetty as you are.
Sure. Yeah.
The guy's never had lower than a 4.7 whip, 4.7 FIP, 4.68 FIP. That's the lowest it's ever been. So I don't know.
I
That
I'll say
that Go ahead.
I'll say this is again. I feel like the theme of the AL Central is the upside division, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
look at you look at this team, and I think this team, as currently constructed, also has a great deal of upside. Just 1 year behind teams like the Tigers and the Royals. I think this team in a year, we're talking about them like we're talking about the Tigers and the Royals with some additions and some development. And
I think that this team in a year is in the same place that we were talking about the Tigers 2 years ago, 2 full seasons ago, but like the before the 2024 season.
Yeah, fair. The only little asterisk I'll give there is I have been where I think I kind of add a little differentiator is I've been really impressed with what this new uh baseball operations team is doing with this team, particularly Chris
Mm-hmm.
Getz.
Mm-hmm.
This team was not projected to be an exciting team for another 2 years. They
Yeah,
are way ahead of schedule and have done really
absolutely.
smart things with this team. So, and I'm going to be honest with you, Munetaka Murakami, the fact that it's going to be rock o'clock next year
Yeah.
at the rate, because Rock Chalowski is going to be in a White Sox uniform and he's going to be
Yep.
fast tracked to the majors. I guarantee it. I mean, this team has expedited their timeline
Give it 2 years,
and
dude. Rock's probably starting at what do you
double
think?
A,
You
double A.
Oh, 2 years I got him in the big leagues, man. I'm not even
No,
joking.
no.
I
Oh,
think
no,
it's a
I'm
Jack
saying that. I'm
Cagle.
saying
Oh yeah, he starts in
I
double A and he's
starts
doing a
in
Jack
double A.
Caglione and playing big league
Yes.
baseball 2 years after he's drafted.
100%.
And then I think at that point is when you move on from like a Miguel Gabargas, or maybe he like goes and plays left field for you or something, move Colson Montgomery to third, put some rock
Yeah.
at shortstop, something like that. But I mean, think about what that lineup looks like at the time.
Oh,
Think about like
my
the
God.
whole my draft with 2 extra years. Kyle Teal like fully coming into his own in age 26, beginning of his prime season. There's so much to be excited about. I'm really excited for this White Sox team. Now, the last time we had really exciting young core and a really exciting young lineup for the White Sox was like the Jose Abreu and
Yeah. Luis
Yohan
Robert, Yohan
Moncada.
Moncada. Oh,
Yeah, all
boy.
those guys. And I'm telling you, like, I've never been out on the White Sox. I picked them to win the World Series 2 consecutive years at one point
So did Jeff
during.
Passan, let it be known.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was right there with Jeff. I had it first, of course, but yeah, it's Jeff. Jeff he takes my picks every once in a while. Um, I love me some White Sox, man, and I really hope that it's working out for you guys because I'm telling you, I will be tuning into quite a few games just to see these young guys. I want to see Murakami throw some balls over the right field fence, man.
Yes. Yes. So, last thing I'll say about the White Sox, just anecdotal. So, I'm the type of guy, like I have White Sox season tickets, as you guys know, but I'm the type of person where I just want to be in the ballpark. I could sit anywhere and I will pay the cheapest price for season tickets because I just want the perks that come with it. Just put me in the ballpark. So my seats
Yep.
are the right field corner upper deck, like the second row, and the
No
view
way.
is awesome. It's awesome view. And that means that I'll be watching left-handed homers off of Murakami right in front of me going over the fence. I'm so
Yeah,
freaking excited.
that's gonna be so sick, dude. I can't wait. I can't wait. We still got to make my trip up to Chicago to go to the rate with you happen at some
Heck
point.
yeah. Oh, we're doing it. Totally.
And then
All
we're
right.
doing
So,
Fenway. You and I have to do
oh,
Fenway. Have
I,
you been there before? Did we talk about
no,
this? Oh my
no, I
God,
haven't. So
man.
if my first time there could be with you, I am, count me in. Count
Dude,
me
I can't.
in.
I'm moving back to the East Coast in like 3 months. I will drive to Boston and meet you there.
I'm all game for that. Totally.
All
Totally.
right.
Book it.
Dude, I'm really excited about the White Sox. I'm really excited.
Me too.
I'm
Me
sure you
too.
are too.
That's the thesis. That is the thesis. So
We got picks
we've
to
laid
make.
it all out on the table. We got picks to make. You give me the order. What are you working with here?
Okay. I kind of spoiled the only thing that was a little off about my picks, and it's just going to be Tigers, Guardians, Royals. Guardians and Royals could switch.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians and Royals really could switch. If the Royals really click and the Guardians really don't, like I would not be surprised if in like June we have Tigers, Royals, Guardians. But I think by the end of the season, it will be Tigers, Guardians, Royals, Sox, Twins.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said a few things that I think I am going to formalize on my projection. I am going to do Tigers. I have more belief in the Royals than I do the Guardians, so I'm going to
Hmm.
put Royals 2, Guardians 3, and I do agree. I think the White Sox are going to be a surprise team this year. I'm going to do White Sox and Twins. So I think I think the way that we both draw it up, I think our logic's basically the same.
Let me see real quick what we've got. Hey, do you realize that the Fangraphs? Who do you think Fangraphs has projected to win this division?
I would say the Guardians,
Yeah, only because
and
I
I
asked
hate
the
that.
question, probably, right? Yeah, no. The Guardians are projected for 88 wins, and the Tigers only for 87.
This is why, like, can I just get on my um
Soapbox.
soap. There you go. That thing with the soapbox. Let me just get on my soapbox for a second and explain to you that we are not like experts here, folks. We talk baseball because we love the sport and we love just clowning and giving predictions because it's fun. I'm here to tell you that the projections that you get from Fangraphs are basically the same thing. You can put any computer or algorithm you want, guys. This is baseball. It is so variable. Things happen. All the projections are just fun little projections. And I'm telling you right now, I'm calling BS on any projection that tells you the Guardians are winning this division. I'm happy to eat crow later, not buying it.
Oh, wait.
Are you looking at current standings?
I was looking at last year's projection.
All
Not
right.
last
So the
year's.
last 30 seconds, just ignore that.
Yeah.
But the point remains.
So the Guardians are projected for 76 wins.
Okay.
And they are projected for
There we
fourth
go.
place. They are projected for fourth place. Now, one thing I do want to look at is the AL East, because this one is legit. And this is our preview for next week. So, like the video, subscribe, come back. We'll have the video posted around this time next week. But who do you think is projected to win the AL East? By
I mean,
Fangraphs.
it's the Blue Jays.
No.
It's
Wouldn't
not
that
the
make
Red
sense if it
Sox.
was? It's not the Red Sox. It makes
It better
even
not
less
be
sense than that.
the Yankees?
The Yankees are projected to win the AL East
Come on. Come on. Okay.
with this
No.
same exact
No.
lineup from last year.
No.
Yeah, I don't get it.
This is what I'm talking about. All projections are BS. We're just doing this for fun. Don't trust the computer. That's what
Yep,
I'm
there
saying.
you go. Well, we'll be back next week with that AL East preview, which means I finally get to talk about my Red Sox. And I'm over here talking. I was the one who chose to do the NL West first, so I knew it would
That's
take
true.
the longest to get to my AL East. But I'm so excited. I have so much to say about the AL East coming up next week. So
All
please
right.
join
Well,
us.
next week, 2-hour show, baby. All about the AL East. I guess that's what
Yeah.
we're doing. But before we get there, folks, go ahead and make sure you down at the bottom, subscribe, like all that we're doing here at Rally Cap, and let us know would you rather have the Cleveland Guardians floor or the Detroit Tigers ceiling? Let us know what you expect here in the AL Central in 2026.